What if the most important thing you came here to do, you haven't done yet? At some point as we get older, especially in our later years, most of us start asking, is this all there is? Have I done enough? Did I miss my real purpose for being here? And once these questions show up, they get loud. I mean, really loud. And I get it because the older we get, the more urgent it feels because we don't have a lot of time left to figure this out. But here's what I know after 40 years in this work. There is a real answer as to what your purpose is. And in this video, you might just have a moment where you think, oh, that's what it is. Over the years, I've talked with so many people who feel this urgency, sometimes even an angst, to figure out what their purpose is. And when I ask them what they think it might be, almost all of them say the same thing. It must be something they're supposed to do, something meaningful, something that helps others, a mission, a calling. And yes, for some people, that may be part of it. But what if underneath every path, every calling, there was one purpose that stands at the head of the line, the greatest purpose that every single soul brings with them before they get here? Wouldn't you want to know that? So now hold on to your hats, because what I'm about to say next is quite bold, and it may catch you off guard a little because it usually does when I say this to people. But it has everything to do with why you're here today. One day, like all of us, you're going to leave this earth. And in that moment, here's what's going to happen. Your soul is going to rise up from your body and go up and up and up. And then something incredibly beautiful happens. You realize you still have consciousness. You still exist. You still have thoughts and feelings. You're still you, only lighter. And then you're going to have an urge. And that urge will be to look down. And when you look down, you're going to see the body you thought you were all these years. And in that moment, you may hear yourself think, oh my God, I was in there the whole time. And that realization is the key to everything I'm about to tell you. To remember that you are a soul having a human experience is the main purpose every one of us is here. It's not a doing, not a mission, not an accomplishment. It's a remembering that you are in this life, but not of it. I like to say it in my own way. You're not who you think you are, and you're not from around here. So why would I ever want you to know that? Why is this so important? Because knowing that really does change everything in your life. When you really believe that you are a soul having a human experience, not just a human being trying to get it right, you stop measuring your worth by what you've done or haven't done. You start treating yourself differently, treating others differently. You become less reactive and much more at peace, and you stop being so afraid. Why? Because your soul has never been afraid, not for one moment. It already knows it's eternal. It already knows it's safe. It already knows it's loved. And the moment you even get a glimpse of that, you start living differently, and that ripples out to everything. Your relationships, your health, your happiness, the way you wake up in the morning, the way you face what scares you. That's why I want you to remember who you really are, not as a concept to think about, but as a truth to live from, because you came here to live it. That's the whole point. That's your whole purpose for being here. But first, we need to talk about what's been standing in your way. And it starts with something my spiritual teacher taught me years ago that I've never forgotten. He said, Connie, there are really only two emotions in life. And I said, oh, let me guess, love and hate. He said, no, love and fear. Hate is fear. And I've never looked at life the same way since he said that, because I finally understood what he meant, and I want to share it with you too. So if there are only two emotions, and one of them is fear, then we really have to take a look at that. To be totally honest, I've lived a lot of my life in fear, mostly because of trauma in my childhood. But after 40 years as a psychotherapist, I can tell you this, you don't need a traumatic childhood to be carrying around a lot of fear. And I think you know exactly what I mean, because you and I know fear very well. The fear of change, the unknown, the fear of what others think, death, illness, fear of loss. Did one of yours just come to mind? If you'd like to share it in the comments, I'd love to hear it. I'll share mine with you. Mine is fear of loss. But what he said next really surprised me, because I had no idea this was fear too. He said, every time you have a negative feeling about yourself, not feeling good enough, unworthy, guilt, regret, anxiety, that's fear too. It's just fear in disguise. And I said, really? I've never heard that before. But I can tell you from experience, I've tested this theory for 40 years, and he was right. But here's where everything shifts in your favor, because there's an antidote to fear, and you already know what that is. It's love. And here's the beautiful part. You already know how to love. And I hope this next part knocks your socks off, because it's one of the most powerful things I ever say. Every time you feel love for anything or anyone, your children, friends, your family, yourself, trees, I love trees, planting flowers, loving your home, listening to music, being out in nature, etc., etc. I could go on and on. Here's what's important to know. All this love you feel is not being created by your human self. This is your soul expressing itself as love through you, and you are feeling it. So if you ever say, I don't know how to feel my soul, oh yes you do. This is it. When you love, this is you remembering who you really are. And there is no more powerful feeling in the world. None. And I know you know that. But love expresses itself in different ways too. When you've just been through something hard and you sit down and let yourself really cry, that's your soul tending to your human self through compassion. It's helping you to heal. And when you offer that same compassion to another person, you're working the magic of your soul to heal another. That is love in action. And every time you feel pure joy, like a real belly laugh, or watching your grandchildren play, or dancing like nobody's watching, that electricity you feel, that excitement, that is your soul expressing itself as joy. And here is one of the most powerful expressions of love that most of us never even consider, and that is letting go of judgment. So here's a practice I do that helps me to choose love. The next time you catch yourself about ready to judge yourself or judge another person for not being who you think they should be, just stop, take a breath, and say to yourself, that person is here as a soul, trying to figure things out just as much as I am. And just because I don't like the way they're doing it, doesn't mean I'm going to cast the first stone. And then you silently send them this message. I wish your soul well. My friends, if you can do that, you've just remembered the oneness of love, and you've just remembered you're in there. So guess what happens next when we choose love? There is no more angst about whether you've done enough, no more urgency about whether you've fulfilled your purpose. If you're choosing love more often than fear, notice I said the word often, because you are going to choose fear quite a bit at the time. We're programmed that way. Hey, I choose fear over love more than I want to admit until I recognize that I've done that. So I catch it, and then I remember to choose to say loving things to myself until I forget for a while. And then I remember until I forget. And then I remember, and the beat goes on. See how that works? And here's what I want you to know about that back and forth thing. It doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. It means you're further along than most people, because most people never get to the remembering part at all. But the more you remember, the more it begins to feel like you've come home to yourself. And when you feel that, then the hard times don't take you down the way they used to, because something in you knows you're going to be okay. And here's one simple thing I do that brings me so much joy. Every time I choose love, I say to myself, Connie, this is who you really are. When I show kindness, this is who I really am. When I stop judgment in its tracks, this is who I really am. When I comfort someone, this is who I really am. When I step outside, feel the sun, and remember what a beautiful life this is who I really am. Just those 6 words repeated in real moments helps you to really believe that you're in there, that you are in this world but not of it, and that you really matter because you know you are a child of God who is finally realizing just how magnificent she really is. And if you want to know the single most powerful next step in choosing love over fear, here's what I've discovered about what happens next when you really start to believe it. And I've made a video especially about that. I'll link it right here. I so appreciate you being here and showing up for this today, and that matters more than you know. So now let's keep going together. Everything you need is right there in this next playlist. I'll save you a seat, and I'll meet you there.